pretty sure people here, more than half of the people here, act more mature and more wisely than how they usually act, like in classes or at home or stuff like that. My quote is, "It is human nature to think wisely and act foolishly." I agree with this because myself, in my junior year, in my math class, I was probably one of the most like talkative person in there, but I think I was the smartest one in there in my math class, and I passed it with like I think 95% or up, and I agree with it because me playing around in that class doesn't define like my smartness, I guess. I personally think I'm more mature than what other people think. I said this in my last presentation that I know how to act mature, but I don't choose to because I'm young and I don't want to act mature. That's all I have.
No, that's yours. You get to keep that.
Yeah, when I went up, I just stood in front of like the door. I'm like, all right.
Andrew, the attention device that you had was kind of just a restatement of the quote. I wasn't quite sure how you were kind of going at the topic, but you did identify what the topic was, and you did have a thesis statement, so I think that that helps a little bit. The supporting material that you have with your own first experience is good. You know, what happened in your math class is perfectly fine as an illustration of what you're talking about, although you don't really tell us how the talking in the class and being so social was acting foolishly. Maybe it was distracting to other students, or maybe you missed opportunities as a consequence of that, or maybe the teacher just jumped on you for doing those things despite the fact that you were doing so well in the class, and you felt like, well, I'm drawing attention to myself that's needless. So kind of explain how that second part fits to your experience or fits to the topic. There's not really much of an organizational strategy. You basically have the one example. Then you kind of go to another example that remains very abstract. The presentation aspects, I think, are a little bit problematic. You have long pauses. You don't seem to get a rhythm while you're speaking, and as a consequence, it feels like everything is a struggle to come up with the next idea. And having a plan will help you a little bit more. If you've got an organizational structure, once you're done with your first example, you just say, well, let me go to the next thing that I'm going to be talking about, instead of kind of straining to figure out what the next thing is going to be. You need to have that plan earlier. That's going to help you get through this a little bit more efficiently. You have a tendency to look down. You keep looking at the topics most of the time instead of looking at the audience, which limits you. You're shifting your weight back and forth. That's where some of your anxiety is coming out. You're going from one foot to the other, and that just looks nervous. And like I said, pacing is a little bit problematic. At the end, it was clear that you were kind of stuck to come up with the next thing that you were going to talk about, which that happens. And you did make the right choice. Go ahead and let's finish, but let's find a cleaner finish here instead of saying, well, I guess that's it. Come back to your point, remind us what the quote is, and remind us that you agree with that that's your thesis, because that's a more clean and effective use of your time. Then at least I know why I listened for the 2 minutes that I did, even if it was less than thorough. I know the point that you were trying to make, and that's what's important about a presentation like this, is that you have a point and that we get some idea of what it is you're trying to get across to us. All right, thank you.